extent that we have not recognized and protected farmers' rights to save, use and exchange their seeds. And my honorable said that people cannot even share a meal. How will they share if farmers' rights to save and share seeds is no longer there? Can we ensure that we at least we embrace that food sovereignty to the extent that even this government program that distributes seeds and agro-inputs have a deliberate portion to distribute these indigenous seeds to farmers for multiplication and conservation? Then we shall still have these nutritious foods. Two, in my organizations, we have tried to bring up an alternative to agro-inputs by promoting organic agro-inputs. Our farmers have come up with so many good innovations. But you can imagine the process of bringing up a farmer-led innovation. It is costly, and some farmers are actually unable to bring these innovations to market. Recently, we had an emerging ministry, the Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation, which I think was I think this role is into Office of Prime Minister. I'm yet to contact Judith. If at all, how do we feel if at all we invest in these innovations, we develop them so that they can ably compete with these other synthetic? Because we are not going to talk of productivity if farmers are not supported in terms of developing their innovations. I assure you, to where these agro-inputs have been tested, the farmers have managed to produce a lot of food that if upscaled, it will be able to feed the nation. Thank you.
Friends, I think there you pick Aboriginal part of Uganda in the next 5 years. I think it is a brilliant proposal that we can also pick out of this engagement. Next, Mrs. Sandy, given you.
Parents in town areas have started children. Our parents in village areas have started children. My name is Doreen Aquare. I'm coming in from Safe Road, and we are advocating currently for the nutrient profiling model. The nutrient profiling model right now, my boss will be around. For those who know him, Dr. Commander David, but right now he's in an international meeting, still on the same. The nutrient profiling model is advocating towards an effective regulatory framework for the front of pack warning labels and the restriction of marketing of unhealthy dieties and sugar-sweetened beverages in Uganda. This is attributed to the fact that we see the industry sector has enjoyed a lot of freedom, that they're advocating and they're advertising unhealthy dieties. You find that the Ministry of Health under the World Health Organization estimated an account of 33% of total deaths related to non-communicable diseases. And these non-communicable diseases come to the fact of unhealthy dieties that we take. Our parents think that they feed us well, they're giving us nice foods, you give children golilos, the market is advertising sodas, and you find that the children are forcing parents to buy such products which are not healthy for them. You find that 90% of the Ugandan children are eating that unhealthy fatalities. So we have no clear framework, there are no functioning regulatory framework policies in place in Uganda to alert the public about the nutrients of critical concern. What are these nutrients of critical concern? We talk about sugar, we talk about salt, saturated fats, and these, if taken in excess, they affect our bodies. And the country right now is quiet about everything. So that is why we come that there is no policy in Uganda prohibiting the food sector for promoting, advertising, marketing unhealthy dieties to the population. Even Uganda currently does not even have coordinated efforts to hold and support the stakeholders in the food and beverage sector to account to the consumers. As a result, there are false, misleading nutrition labeling of food products at the market, local markets, because you don't know what is in a product. They just put labeling. You don't know if the excess sugar is there or excess fat. And in this case, Uganda, there are a lot of gaps that have made Uganda to have foods that are high in trans fat, sugars, and therefore there are no restrictions, there are no taxes levied on those sugar-sweetened beverages. And the industry has continued. You find that every one of us, including the member of parliament, including me, a local person, we are at 22% chance of dying a premature death. And this, I'm sorry, it was an address to you about the question you raised. What could be the problem? Where are these coming from? That we have rich parents in towns who have started children. You find that children are very fat, they are obese, overweight, and the parent will be very happy thinking that my child is healthy, yet you're subjecting your child to NCDs, non-communicable diseases. So therefore, as SAFROD, there is an urgent need for us to establish an effective regulatory framework for the front of back warning labels, so that if someone goes to the supermarket, before you buy any product, you will first read the warning labels, so that in case you want to subject your kid or your health to sugars, you take it. But this currently, it is not there. And there is no framework that you can hold these industries accountable. So SAFROD as an organization is calling upon all stakeholders. And we are doing this through a human rights-based approach that we call upon stakeholders. Ministry of Health right now, they have a draft of marketing and restriction as a photo warning labels that they are doing a landscape analysis. And after that, we hope that the member of parliament can also incorporate this into a legal framework, that it will be incorporated in the food and nutrition bill. That is for the health dieties. You'll forgive me for over talking, but again, when you go to the right of food, as SAFROD, very well those who know it, it's a food systems organization. Food system, what do we look at? We look at food as a culture, we look at food as a norm, because most of us, like me, I'm from Eastern, our staple food is kalo. You'll go to someone who is from Western, that you'll find the staple food is Irish. So we look at food from that food system, from the time of land up to the time we're going to consume it. Now, where could be the problem? As SAFROD, we don't end at looking at it as food. We find that a fundamental role in this food system, we have the land rights. The land right is a question that needs to be addressed. Right now, we are in the areas of Buyende, Chankwanzi, and Chiboga. We fight for the rights of women in relation to land. But when you're on ground, like someone said, if we leave this boardroom and conference issues, when we go to the ground, for example, the MPs who are representing districts of up country, the land issue is a great aspect to address in relation to food systems. That food comes from the land, and you find that the women who are supposed to grow food on these lands are marginalized. They have little land to grow this food. So I think this is also an area that we need to address. Then on relation to school feeding, like some of you have highlighted, SAFROD currently is advocating for the school feeding program. Ministry of Health has come up with school feeding guidelines, but we find that they are not inclusive. you're talking about a parent-led. In the guidelines, they talk about parents providing for children in schools. And when you look at statistics, 49% of the children in primary schools are the ones who eat. The rest go on hungry stomach. Where do you expect the rest to get? And you find that these people whom they are talking about being parent-led, have you addressed the issue of those who are orphans? Have you addressed the issue of those who are coming from streets? Have you addressed the issues of those who have parents who are in acute poverty, like some of us who come from Eastern region? On that program, Sefroti is advocating and calling upon all stakeholders that these are our children. Can we have a policy that is inclusive? Can we have healthy dieties? Can we see that in schools like in town areas, children are eating foods which are unhealthy? Can we have a uniform policy that will guide school feeding? Then, lastly, it is on the law itself. The Ugandan Constitution, you look at the objectives 2214, you look at also maybe Article 8A, it does not expressly provide for the right to food like the Kenyan Constitution, Article 43. Can we look at the law? Can we provide the law? The Member of Parliament, maybe if you look at it, if we have amendments that will provide the law that specifically address the right to food and also for the food security. Sefrod is calling upon government, can we have food reserves that will protect the future and the security of the food? Thank you so much for listening.
Yeah, thank you very much, Doreen. Pick the Sefrod perspective and nutrient profiling model is very key. Land
education, it means that education is cross-cutting in regarding to food system, and we are almost the final consumers. If there is no production, if there is no food, we can't study. You know the effects of hunger at school. The different presenters touched many issues regarding to education, school feeding. There are issues of storage, which we take note. It is a big issue. What happened in Nakanon in Mukono was the issue of storage, where you procure food at the beginning of the term and you pile in a store and you start still from up. By the end of the term, you know what will have happened to the food that was down. There are issues of access to food. We are talking that there is availability of food. It is not all the regions that they have food. Some areas don't have. We need really to accept that in some areas there is hunger because of access. You'll find like now matoke in Mbarara. There is a lot of matoke, but you can't find matoke in Karamoja maybe or other areas. So there are issues of distribution. How do you address the issues of distribution to ensure that food reaches to all regions of the country? That is a big concern that we need to take note of. Then the first presenter was mentioning about the existing policies which are almost expired, if I may use that word, but there are also issues of enforcement. If we have the laws that are at least available, are we enforcing them to address issues of food? Then there are issues, there is a colleague who mentioned about the issue of advertising. We have seen the adverts around Kampala. What are they advertising in regarding to food? If you see the KFC, the adverts, if my example of KFC, what is there? Is it nutritious, or they are just putting advert to attract the customers? Those who are still in my age bracket with runners, as you are taking them home, they will be asking you, can you buy for us that? What we need that. That is very sweet. So what are we buying for our children? Then most of the issues, as my colleagues have talked about agriculture, OPM also mentioned, but the ministry is coming up with the school feeding policy, which is almost at the tail end. We are almost concluding the consultations. So all the issues of safety, storage, production, school gardens are addressed in that policy, because we want to have one framework that addresses all the concerns. How do we work with Ministry of Agriculture to ensure that there is food production? How do we work with the Ministry of Water to ensure that schools have access to water? If you eat a meal and you have not washed your hands, or you don't have drinking water, still you not have addressed. How do we ensure that OPM as a coordinating entity ensures that the sectors are involved in this issue of school feeding? But ultimately, all of us, we need to work together as different sectors, civil society, private sector, to address issues of food system. There are issues of capacity building. How do we build our capacity? Not us only at the center, reaching the local governments. Us here, we have the knowledge, but local government, the communities, do they have the knowledge regarding food system? MPs or members of parliament, how do you, for you have access to almost, maybe when you are attending to functions, how do we bring this issue of food system or nutrition so that the people are aware of what is happening or what is required? How do we involve the church, religious leaders? As for them, every Sunday, can they spread the message to the public? Those are my few observations or inputs I can provide.
Yeah, thank you very much, Minister of Education. Friends, maybe to echo the concerns he has just ended with. 2 weeks ago, I was in one of my churches in the